This is a continuation of our Unit 4, Day 2 notes, and today we're talking about writing equations of lines in a slope-intercept form. So we've gone over some of the notes already, but now we're going to look at some scenarios that are written out. So basically these are word problems. When we're looking at word problems, if we want to be able to write an equation of a line that's represented by a specific scenario, we still just need M and B if we're going to write our equation in slope-intercept form, which is what we're doing here. Okay, so if I need an M, remember in a word problem, we think of this M as the rate or the rate of change. So I'm going to look for some sort of a rate or rate of change in the wording. That usually has words like per or every or each. And then also, I need some sort of a base starting point. So I'm going to say my B value is some sort of a base, either phi or distance or amount of some sort. So that's how I'm going to find my M and my B to write my equation. Okay, so you are designing a calendar as a fundraising project for your biology club. The cost of printing is $500 plus $2.50 per calendar. So we're going to let Y represent the cost of printing X calendars. So I'm going to look for some sort of a base fee and some sort of a rate. Rate, again, is usually going to have a word like per or every or each. So here's my rate, $2.50 per calendar. And look, I know X is my calendars, right? So my slope or my rate is $2.50. And my base amount is $500. Just to have this printing company set up the equipment, it will cost me $500. No matter how many calendars I buy. So I know that my base fee just for starting to work with these guys is $500. I have an M and a B, so I can write Y equals MX plus B, and I can write Y equals 250X plus 500. That's it. That's my answer. Okay, so now my next scenario, Hudson is already 40 miles away from home. So if he's 40 miles away from home and he's on his drive back to college, maybe we're thinking that maybe he spent the night off at a friend's house on his way back or something. So he's 40 miles from his house and he's on his way back to college. He is driving at 65 miles per hour. We want to write an equation that models the total distance y that he has traveled after X amount of hours. So I do like to look for my rate first, and so I think to myself, he's driving 65 miles per hour, right? So we say it right when we say miles per hour. There's my rate. 65 is my rate. Okay, and the base amount that he starts with, he's starting 40 miles away from home, right? So he's starting at 40 miles away from home on his way back to college. Okay. I want to know total distance traveled after X amount of hours. So I know that that would be Y equals MX plus B. So I'm going to say that's Y equals 65X plus 40. All right, next, when Phil started his new job, he owed the company $65 for his uniforms. He is earning $13 per hour. The cost of his uniforms is withheld from his earnings. So I want to write an equation that models the total money he has. The total money would be Y after X hours of work. So this is a real thing. Sometimes when you're working for a company, you need to buy your uniform that you're going to wear. So you start out owing money, and it takes you a certain number of hours to earn enough money that you feel like you're taking money home. Okay, so he is owing $65. He owes $65. So we are going to say the amount of money he has is negative 65 to start with. Okay, he is earning $13 per hour, so that's going to be my rate. So when I think about that, my rate is $13 per hour, and the amount of money for his base starting amount was negative $65. So if I want to write this as an equation, Y equals 13X minus $65. I could manipulate this equation and figure out how many hours he has to work before he actually starts having a positive amount of money. So if I wanted to do that, it would be 5 hours, right? 5 hours times 13 would be 65. And so at 5 hours, he has at least paid off the uniforms and he can start making money. They didn't ask us that, I'm just talking. All right, so if we're going to write an equation in slope-intercept form, given a slope and a point, this is different from what we've had. So far, we've been given the slope and the y-intercept. We've been given a rate and we've been given a base amount to start with. This time, we're going to be given slope and a point. So we're given slope, we have to figure out what our b value is. All right, so first we're going to substitute in the slope and 1 point into our equation, y equals mx plus b, and we're going to solve for b. Write the equation in slope-intercept form by plugging in the value of m and the value you have now found for b. All right, this says a slope of 1/3 passes through the point 2, 4. So all that means is the line lands on this point, 2, 4. Okay, I know to determine the slope, I just look at the problem. It says the slope is 1/3. I didn't have to do anything, it was given to me. So I'm going to have to determine the y-intercept. Remember, that's b. I need y, m, x, b. I need some combination of 3 of those to solve for the 4th one, right? So in this case, if I look at my ordered pair, I have an x, y. Every single ordered pair is always an x and a y. So watch this. I know my y, because I'm going to look right back up here. Y is 4. I know my m, because they told me the slope is 1/3. M equals 1/3. I know my x. X is 2 in that ordered pair. X is 2. And b is the thing I don't know. That's what I want to find out. Okay, so that's a question mark there. Okay, so I'm going to find the missing b value by plugging everything in. I'm going to say y equals mx plus b, and I'm going to plug in everything I know. Y is 4, m is 1/3, x is 2, and plus b. B is the thing I don't know, so I'm just going to put b. I wrote my 2 all funny high up there because I know if I'm going to multiply a fraction times a whole number, I'm going to make them both look like fractions, because then I can do my numerators in the top and my denominators in the bottom. This is 4 equals 2/3 plus b. I will subtract 2/3 from each side. I'm going to go ahead and write 4 as a fraction, because I know to subtract a fraction, I'm going to want to have a fraction to subtract it from. Okay, so 4 minus 2/3 equals b. 4 minus 2/3 equals b. I subtracted 2/3 from each side, and then I made my 4 look like a fraction. Okay, if I want to subtract some fraction from another fraction, they have to have a common denominator. So we're going to make that be 12/3. Okay, 12 minus 2 is 10. I have 10/3 equals b. All right, so I need to write the equation. I am almost there. In order to write the equation in y equals mx plus b format, I just need m and b, right? And I have m because they gave it to me, and I just figured out b. So I'm going to write y equals 1/3 x plus 10/3. Awesome. All right, we're going to move on over here to part B. Same basic procedure. They tell me I have a slope of -2 that crosses the y-axis at 0, 5. So I have a point and I have a slope. Determine the slope. Well, m equals -2. I know because they told me in the problem. Determine the y-intercept. Y-intercept is b. Here's the thing. This is where I'm crossing the y-axis. The y-intercept is wherever x equals 0. This is my y-intercept, that number 5. Okay, b equals 5. It's right there in the problem. But if you didn't notice that, no worries. I'm still going to solve for b as if I didn't see that. Okay, so we're going to use this point. So I know I have an x and I have a y. This is just in case you didn't notice it was the y-intercept. My y is 5. My slope is -2. X is 0. and b is the thing I am trying to find out. So if I write this all out, I'm going to have 5 equals negative 2x plus b. This is y, m, x, and I don't know b. 5 equals b, because that just goes to 0, right? So 5 equals b. Sure enough, that is my y-intercept. I have my m that they gave me, and I have my b, which they actually gave me, but I also could figure that out by algebraic computation. I'm going to write my equation. It's y equals negative 2x plus 5. All right, so we have found how to write our equation using a graph where we can see the y-intercept and calculate out the slope. We have figured out how to write y equals mx plus b. We find the slope and we find the y-intercept using slope and 1 point. We can also do all of this given 2 points. So what we're going to do is use the slope formula to calculate the slope from any 2 points. And then once we calculate the slope, we're going to just pick one of those 2 points to find b, just like we just did. It doesn't matter which point we pick. And then finally, once we find m and b, we're going to write out our equation in slope-intercept form. Okay, so here I have my slope. It's going to be y sub 2 minus y sub 1. I have negative 8 minus 1 all over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. That's 5 minus 2. So that's negative 9 over 3, which equals negative 3. My slope is negative 3. All right, I can choose either point. So now I'm going to find the equation of a line. I'm going to find b using slope and a point. Okay, I'm just going to choose this first one. So I know y equals 1 from that point. M equals negative 3 because we calculated that. X equals, I'm going to go back to the same point. So my, oops, you can't see those. I'm sorry. Y equals 1 and m equals negative 3. And then my x equals 2 from that same point. B is what I am looking for. Okay, so I know y equals mx plus b. I'm going to plug this stuff in. I have 1 equals negative 3 times 2 plus b. Y equals mx plus b. So I have 1 equals negative 6 plus b. Add 6 to each side. I know 7 equals b. Okay, so I have my m, I have my b, and I can write out my equation. And forgive me for doing all that work there instead of underneath here. I'm going to write my equation right here. Y equals negative 3x plus 7. Okay, I'll try to use my space better on my paper. Here we're going to determine the slope from these 2 points. So I have negative 3 minus negative 2. Don't lose your negatives. All over 1 minus 3. Subtracting a negative really means adding a positive, so I have negative 3 plus 2, that's negative 1. And I have 1 minus 3, which is negative 2. I will simplify, and my slope is 1/2. Okay, so if I want to determine the y-intercept, I'm going to plug in the information I have. I know my y value. I'm going to choose this first point, although it really doesn't matter. You really could choose either point. So the y from my first point, y equals negative 2. M equals, we calculated that, m is 1/2. X equals, I have a positive 3 up there in my ordered pair. That's where I got x. And then b equals, that's what we don't know. So I'm going to write it all out. I'm going to say negative 2 equals 1/2 times x plus b. Okay, that means negative 2 equals 3/2 plus b. Now I will subtract 3/2 from each side. Okay, so I'm going to say negative 2 over 1 minus 3 over 2 equals b. Right? Negative 2 minus 3/2 equals b. But I made negative 2 look like a fraction. So I'm going to now make this over 2. So I have negative 4 over 2. -4 and -3 is -7 over 2, and that equals b. I have m, I have b. I can write the equation. Y equals 1/2 x minus 7/2. All right, and finally, I'm given information in function format. So I need to think about my x and y as input and output. So for this f of -1 equals 3, that means when the input is -1, the output is 3. That ordered pair would be -1, 3 here. In the next information, the f of -3 equals 1, that means my input was -3 and my output was 1. Okay, so now I have two ordered pairs, so I can find my slope. Y sub 2 minus y sub 1. I have 1 minus 3 all over -3 minus -1. I have 1 minus 3 is -2. -3 plus 1 is -2, and anything divided by itself is 1. So my slope is 1 here. All right, we're going to come down here and we're going to determine the y-intercept then, given what we know. I'm going to bring down one of these points. Actually, maybe I'll do both of these this time. This is -1, 3. And we know that our m is 1, so I'm just going to do the first point first, okay? My y value is 3, right there. My m is 1, we know because we calculated that. My x value is -1 in this ordered pair. And my b value is the thing I don't know. Okay, if I solve from the first ordered pair, I'm going to get 3 equals 1 times -1 plus b, mx plus b. So 3 equals -1 plus b. I'm going to add 1 to each side, 4 equals b. Okay, I know my m and I know my b. So if I use that first ordered pair, I will get y equals 1x. So I'm just going to say x plus 4. Okay. Now, if I were to use the second ordered pair, which is what I'm going to do next, you'll see you'll get the same exact number. So instead of using -1, 3, I'm going to use -3, 1. I'm going to use that second ordered pair, okay? I still know that my slope is 1, right? Because we calculated from those 2 points. So let's just do this a second time with the other ordered pair. Since I'm using the second ordered pair this time, my y value is 1. See that? My m is still 1 because it's the same slope, it's the same line. My x, since I'm using this second ordered pair, my x is -3, and I don't know the b yet. I do because we figured it out the other way, but we're going to pretend we don't know. So y equals mx plus b. I'm going to say 1 equals 1 times -3 plus b. 1 equals -3 plus b. I don't suppose I needed those parentheses. I'm going to add 3 to each side, so 4 equals b. With my second ordered pair, you can see that you get y equals 1x plus 4. Same thing. All right, so pop back in for the next video. You can see the rest of our notes discovered.